This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Anybody tired today after that Marathon World Series game last night? My God, what an absolute classic. But a heartbreaker for the Toronto Blue Jays and their fans last night, losing in 18 innings last night at Chavez Ravine at Dodger Stadium to fall behind 2-1 in the Fall Classic. Josh Goldberg's going to join us from Blue Jays Nation. We'll pick apart all the details from last night's Classic game and look ahead to Game 4 tonight. Of course, it is a Jets Game Day edition. Jets and our old friends, the Minnesota Wild, going at it tonight at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul. Wild are going to be wearing their white 25th anniversary uniforms. Jets breaking out the Heritage Blues on the road tonight. 7 o'clock game as a part of a full slate of action in the NHL tonight. All 16 teams will be playing. The action is going to get going at 5 o'clock, and games will be starting throughout the evening all the way until 10 p.m. We'll have lots to get to later on when we tee up the Cool Bet lines. We are going to have Pat Neufeld join us live on the show today. Looking forward to that. Bombers practicing today ahead of a do-or-die game Saturday in Montreal, heading out east as the crossover team. We'll certainly get into that. And, of course, much more on the Jets and Wild tonight. Jessi Pierce will fill us in on what is happening with the Wild, who sit at the bottom of the division right now when they get ready for the Jets tonight. So, Jays, Jets, Bombers, it is a packed show. Great to have you all with us, even if you're maybe a little sluggish today after being up past bedtime last night. Thanks to it. Listen, just before we get going, a huge thanks to all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at CoolBet, Princess Auto, the Winnipeg Jets, HSC Millionaire Lottery. Get those tickets in before Thursday night to be eligible for those amazing early bird draws. Rolly's Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center and Canadian Club, Uptown Alley, Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba Battery, Clean Line, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug. We will get to a Why Not question of the day for our friends at Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray, and of course, fan feedback for fansfirst.ca. Hey, just before we bring in Michael Remis, quick reminder, gang, it is a Winnipeg Jets game day, and that means you can score a great deal using the McDonald's app and get the iconic Big Mac or filet of fish for just $4.49 all day today and every Winnipeg Jets game day, home or away, at your local McDonald's, but only through the app. Jump on those Jets game day deals today and every day the Winnipeg Jets play over at McDonald's. All right, let's do this. Remo, what's going on? Hey, you pulling some sleep out of your eyes after last night? I know you were in for the long haul.
Yeah, that's what coffee's for. And people are saying to me, hey, did you stay up and watch that? Yeah, I don't think I've ever gone to bed in the middle of a Stanley Cup playoff overtime game, World Series. I'm in it. I'm staying to the end. I remember Vancouver Dallas had a big one around 07. I remember Minnesota Dallas had a big one 05, I think 04, 05. Big one, but last night 18 innings, huge marathon, and I think near the end it just felt inevitable that the Dodgers were going to pull that one out. The Jays did not have the bats in the lineup to come up with a game-winning hit. And I don't even think they had a ton of opportunities in extra innings. Maybe 2 innings there. They had a guy in scoring position. But what a game it was. Complete marathon. ended around 1:50 a.m. I was texting my friends in Toronto. You guys still up? What's the roll call here? Very thankful for the Central time zone. It almost got comical, actually. I mean, Dan Schulman telling a story of how his wife flew to Toronto, from Toronto to LA during the game, and then went to bed, and then she's like, "Oh, she just texted me. She's up.
She's fully checked in at the hotel, dealing with LA." I mean,
yeah,
it's a game that we will be talking about forever. Frankly, I mean, not only was it a World Series game, there was history made, and it seems like Shohei Ohtani's making history every single time he gets out there. He made history before the game even went to extras, by being the first player in World Series history to have 4 extra base hits, 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and then, of course, they finally figured it out that you just can't pitch to this guy. Probably won at bat too late and ended up walking him the rest of the way. Also becomes the first player in playoff history to reach base 9 times. I think he had the record when it was 7, and then when it was 8. And then, of course, one more time. But it was Freddie Freeman with the game-winning bomb off Little in the bottom of the 18th. And listen, I know Little's taken some heat. I mean, he came out and pitched a really strong 17th inning. Not the situation you probably wanted your least reliable reliever to be in, but that's what happens when you go through the entire bench. But 2 things that I think Jays fans are talking about today. Number one, what are you doing, Schneider, pitching to Ohtani in the 7th inning after he had already killed you over and over again? And then the other thing is, the aggressive moves to try to get speed on the base paths cost them Bo Bichette's bat, Addison Barger's bat, and Alejandro Kirk's bat. And the guys that came in for those guys went a combined 0 for 11 from the plate last night, Remis. And, let's face it, at the end of that game, the Dodgers still had their big bats in the lineup, and the Jays roster looked like kind of a Toronto Buffalo Bison split squad by the end of it. And, you were hoping for a miracle from one of these unheralded players that is not known for what they do with the stick. It just didn't come. And as you mentioned, the longer that game went, it did. And the Jays just having a tough time generating anything from the plate, it did somewhat feel inevitable that at some point one of those big bats for the Dodgers were going to make the difference. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, shout out to all the relievers for both teams putting in what an effort. Lauer for the Blue Jays, most notable. And
he was amazing.
And Klein became a legend in LA for his performance, but as you said, he really didn't go up against the Jays' A lineup. Bo Bichette pulled for, he's been battling that knee injury the last month. George Springer left the game with injury. Alejandro Kirk pulled for a pinch runner, and was the backup catcher that much faster than him that they needed to make that decision? I think that's one that's questioned. And Addison Barger pulled for Miles Straw, who did absolutely nothing, and all the guys they put in couldn't hit. And how many times do they have runners on? It's Isaiah Kiner-Falefa up in the cleanup spot. Not ideal for the Blue Jays. So I think they had chances to win. Were not able to execute, and there were some great plays defensively by both teams. The Barger throw to nab Freddie Freeman. 98 miles an hour is what they said on the broadcast. Vlad Guerrero Jr. heads-up play to grab Teoscar. The Dodgers gunning down at home plate before Vlad was about to come up. That was a nice relay from Teoscar to Tommy Edman, who had a number of great plays. And some great defense in that game. Unfortunately, both teams not great with runners in scoring position. And the Dodgers' top 3 guys, Freeman, Ohtani, Betts, those are great players. And, you throw one down the middle, you make a mistake, they're going to put it out. And on their last 2 runs, down the pipe, and it was gone.
I just see a comment in chat that we should get to. Comment. The organ player played Iron Maiden. Dieter Rulli.
Yes.
The GOAT of, I'm going to say, of in-game entertainment in North American professional sports.
Yes.
The famous organist who does the Dodgers games. He also does Kings games when available. He literally can play anything, and that was sort of like this amazing soundtrack. It was an absolute masterclass by him. It just made it so much fun. With the tension and the stress of the game, all of a sudden hearing Dieter like through all these like pop ditties, Iron Maiden, I mean, you name it, they had it last night. It was a fun little aside from what was going on the field.
I mean, it's like 1 a.m. and I'm sitting here trying to play Name That Tune during every little intermission. And yeah, he's a legend, plays for the Kings. He's done Olympic hockey as well. Fun fact about him, he composed the music to NHL 94. If you're familiar with that, he did the music for that.
Yes, so very familiar.
I mean, everyone putting in overtime. The TV. Dan and Buck talking for so long, both broadcasts. Hazel Mays tweeting out that her and Ken Rosenthal and their little pod there are getting hungry. All the fans at the stadium. That was a marathon, and finally it ended, and I went to bed very quickly after that.
Yeah. Well, I had to get home. I got picked up by one of my buddies at the airport at 7:15. We went straight on. I wanted to watch the Chief game, too. Chiefs are still the Chiefs. The first half, not so good. Mahomes took over in the second half. The Chiefs win and cover. Chiefs-Bills next Sunday afternoon. Cannot wait for that one. But, listen, I'm going to throw out the why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray to all of you in the chat right now, because I think we're already going there. What do you think was if you could change one thing from last night, from a Blue Jays, from a decision, a managerial point, what would it be? I mean, I'm already seeing a bunch of people in the chat mentioning the pitching to Ohtani in the seventh inning. That's the one decision, the fact that they had that 1-run lead that probably is going to haunt a lot of people, because that ended up being the run that they needed to get it to extras. And then we played another freaking 9-inning game, basically, before Freddie Freeman was able to end it.
Yeah, you're up 1 run. You bring in, it's Sir Anthony Dominguez pitching, and they have the meeting at the mound to say, okay, what are we going to do here? And you're like, okay, how careful are they going to be here? Are they going to intentionally walk him? The first pitch out of his hand, you knew it was gone before the bat hit the ball.
Such a meatball.
It was so down the pipe. If you go on the MLB app and it shows you the pitch location, dead center, that's a tough one. And I agree. That would probably be the one you could make an argument about, sending runners when, or decisions that were made with the substitutions. But I think that was the one that changed the game and tied the game up and led them to walking Ohtani. I tell you how many times, like playing, beer league slow pitch, just walking their best hitter. And I laughed, like, usually, you don't walk on the the game-winning run. And even Buck Martinez, the biggest baseball lifer, is like, yeah, you got to do this. You got to walk. And that's just he's just on such another level right now from all the players. His stats are absurd. Oh, and he's going to be pitching tonight, starting pitching.
Listen, let's get to a little fan feedback for fansfirst.ca, because there's so much going on in the chat from last night's game. Of course, Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. Bomber games, Jet games, no added fees. What you see is what you pay. And, well, I can tell you that there's going to be, we were hoping that there'd be another sold-out game at Princess Auto Stadium. Bombers hitting on the road, but Jet season available all now. And, of course, if you do have extra tickets for a game, best place to sell them with quick, prompt payment the next day directly into your account. Well, another notice on Dieter Rulli. Ty Petkow, question. Did anyone notice the organ player was playing the theme song for The Never Ending Story at the top of the 18th? That is totally what it is. B. Henderson Barger did his best Jesse Barfield impression. Derek Schmidt, like my son would say, Ohtani is a cheat code. Joel Kevinson, guys, the turning point was not walking Shohei in the seventh inning. And Comet just finished the Blue Jays game. Epic. Let's see here. Tony Pop couldn't believe they waved the runner home with Vlad on deck in the inning prior. There was some really aggressive moves, really by both teams, to try to score runs, and that gets back to some of the defensive plays, Remis, that you mentioned. And Manny Fran said, hey, no one is to blame for that loss. It's just a hell of a team, and Barfield had a great arm for sure. Great memories. Kevin K, disappointed Remis doesn't have his Dodgers hat on. The engagement would have generated, it would have been next level. No.
Well, I'll say that, Coolbet has had this World Series promo us with home run insurance, where if you bet $19.93 and tweet at them your pick with your username, your bet slip. I did Freddie Freeman last night. So when he did homer, I burst out laughing in my basement. It's 2 a.m. and I'm like, oh, wait, I won my bet here after it went, so I'll have to make a decision for tonight. But yeah, I gave it back to my brother, that Dodgers hat. So it was his. I found it in my closet.
The crazy thing about tonight, Remis, is these teams have to go right back at it, having emptied the bench, emptied the bullpen, and we spent this entire show talking about how incredible Shohei Ohtani is and what he's doing at the plate. He's pitching tonight.
Yeah.
Which is just part of the greatness of this athlete and why, the Dodgers in particular, Shohei, are must-see. But a lot on the shoulders of Shane Bieber going into tonight.
Yeah, Max Scherzer pitched a pretty good game, and the plan went well. Glasnow, they chased him early, got to the bullpen, had the lead, was not able to hold on. And tonight, I don't know, if Ohtani, his performance against the Brewers last time he pitched, 3 home runs that he hit and 10 strikeouts that he pitched. It's going to be tough if he's anything. We saw Yamamoto in Game 2. He was lights out. The Dodgers, in their wins in the last 2 series, their pitchers have gone 7, 8, 9 innings. That's how they're going to win, because their bullpen, it's been taxed, tired. And both teams' bullpens. I'm actually curious what the Jays are going to do and how much Shane Bieber is going to have. So very interesting. And it is NHL Frozen Frenzy, which I was so hyped for last year. Just learned today, that this was happening today.
I found out it during the lock shop today.
Yeah. Did you know? Last year I was so fired up about it.
I remember when the schedule came out, they said that they were doing it. I knew it was somewhat earlier on in the year. The games start today at 5 p.m. And you got 5:30, 5:45. We've got the normal time though. 7 o'clock tonight for Jets Wild from the XL.
I think that's why, because last time was a home game that started at 8 against St. Louis, and I was like, sweet, that's great.
I think it was like 7:45.
Yeah. Either way, it was not the normal time, so that raises your eyebrows when you're looking at the times. And when you see that it's at 7, like, oh, normal time, we'll just go. But the Jets will be wearing the Heritage Blues, and the Wild have their 25th anniversary whites. So we'll be flipping back and forth, using multiple TVs, iPads, phones, whatever you got. And the TV's got a workout last night with the Sports Equinox as well.
How about this? Derek Schmidt, last night's game tied the 18 World Series Game 3, also played at Dodger Stadium, which Max Muncy won on a walk-off homer against the Red Sox. Brad Paisley was also the anthem singer that night, too. That is wild. And Derek mentions he had also sung before an 11-inning World Series Game 2 in 2017 and 10-inning World Series Game 1 in 2022. So if Brad Paisley is singing the anthem at the World Series, buckle up, you're probably getting free baseball.
Is that true? I thought people were just making that up. I don't know if anyone did. People fact check that? That is what
I'm just reading the comments. That's the case, but I see no reason why people would be having fun with that. So and Dish Boy Bruce. Last night was the Sports Equinox, and I only watched the Jays game all night.
I watched Sens Bruins. Sens put up 7 again on the Bruins, and how about Crosby? 1,700 points for him in his career. What a start the Penguins are off to. So I watched the football. We saw the Chiefs win. You tuned in that, and I did my Sports Equinox parlay where I did Mahomes. I had Mahomes. I got Ohtani, Crosby, and Steph Curry, and I missed on Curry, but all the greatest of the generation in one parlay on one night. Pretty cool.
I wish I'd gotten in on that. I basically jumped on my cool bet as soon as my plane touched down. I'd missed the start of the baseball game, but did get in a Chiefs pick and Mahomes to throw 3 TDs. So that was nice. You keep your comments coming in on last night's epic game. We'll talk about it more with Josh Goldberg coming up in a few minutes. But Remo, we got a game tonight. Jets looking to bounce back after, losing 2 of 3 at home over the course of a 4-day stretch through the weekend, and they're going in to play the Minnesota Wild. And we'll get the latest on Minnesota with Jessi Pierce a little later on. But I can tell you that Bill Guerin not liking where he sees his team right now. 2 games under 500, 3-5-2. They've lost 3 in a row, including an OT loss to Macklin Celebrini and the San Jose Sharks. Celebrini with it. Well, I'm not sure if you caught the overtime.
I did.
San Jose literally never had the puck for the entire overtime, and then Celebrini got it, goes the distance, scores, and ices it, and they win 6-5.
Minnesota's very salty coming into this game. I don't know if you saw the players of the week yesterday. The NHL announced Jack Hughes, Macklin Celebrini, Logan Cooley. What is the common theme for them last week?
They all lit up the Wild?
They all lit up Minnesota. So they're going to be salty. I don't know if Mark Scheifele or Kyle Connor are going to be able to do the same. But Minnesota, Kaprizov's having a good season. Matt Boldy as well. Zeev Buim is a really nice rookie defenseman stepping in on the power play. They should be better, but they've had some of these real stinker games here. And I look at their lineup. I think they have pretty solid defense here. Brodin and Faber, Middleton, Spurgeon, and the young guys, Buim and Jurček. So we'll see what happens. But Minnesota team shows up tonight. It's 25th anniversary. Maybe they'll bring out Jacques Lemaire from retirement and play the trap here and try to play some slow hockey to stop the Jets.
Well, let's quickly fire up the clean line projected lines for tonight's game for the Winnipeg Jets. And as you can see, a little bit of a switch up. Connor Scheifele-Velarde, Vlad Nemetsnikov is going to be playing left wing with Jonathan Toews and Alex Iafallo. And Morgan Barron moving up to the third line, centering in between Nino Niederreiter and Gus Nyquist. Barron moving up means that Parker Ford comes in to play center with Koepke and Pearson, and Nikita Chibrikov comes out of the lineup. Defense pairings, Morrissey DeMello, Stan and Pionk, Fleury and Shen. And we will see Connor Hellebuck in the night. There are clean line lines for Clean Line. 40 years is the best in the business on plumbing, heating, and electrical. The official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets. Captain approved, as you've seen with big Adam Lowry. Remo, thoughts on moving Vlad to the wing? This is, I think, in some ways, maybe a bit of a precursor to Adam Lowry's return. That won't happen now. We knew one of the centers had to move. And I got to tell you, I think Morgan Barron is ready for more ice time and a bit more of a primetime role right now with the way that he's playing. Game in and game out, he has been a very impactful player in a positive way for the Jets so far this year.
Yeah, I agree, Huss. You look at Morgan Barron's performance in a fourth-line role, not getting power play time, putting up points. He's earned additional role and additional ice time on the third line, and you need some of that secondary scoring. Gus Nyquist down to the third. He's still searching for his first goal, and Nemestikov is a very versatile player. He can play anywhere. Give him a shot at wing. Put Parker Ford in at fourth line center. Try to balance out your middle six a little bit more. I don't mind it. I'm curious to see how it's going to play out if they can get some of that secondary scoring. Have been relying a lot on Connor and Scheifele here, but the Jets are looking to bounce back from that loss on the weekend to Utah. Not a great performance against Seattle as well. They did win against Calgary. We'll see if they can go loss, win, loss, win in their last 4 here.
Well, hopefully get the win, especially at the expense of the Wild, and keep them towards the bottom. Just when you look at the Central, and we'll dive into this a little bit with Jessi a little later on. But the Central Division, I mean, the Utah Mammoth is one of the great stories of the year. They're not the hottest team in the league. The Devils have won 8 in a row, but Utah's right there, having won 7 in a row, and they stand on top of the division at 16 points at 8-2. The Avalanche, it's a little deceiving. You look at the Avalanche record, 5-1-4. The streak is 4 losses in a row. The problem is that they keep going to overtime but not getting it done, which is sort of strange for a team that has Nate Dogg and Cale Makar. But they're 2 points up on the Jets. Jets do have a game in hand. That game will be played tonight. Jets 12 points, 6-3 through 9 games. 1 up on the Dallas Stars, 2 up on the Blackhawks, who have all played 9 games. And again, every single team in action tonight will go into the schedule a little bit later on when we get into our cool bet lines.
Yeah, it's funny. We talked so much. You mentioned Colorado. You know, I watched some of their game against Boston. Their power play just didn't seem like it had the same crispness as it usually does. And, you know, we talked so much last year about a guy like Brock Nelson and how the Jets were going to try to trade for him, or could they sign him long-term. He ended up going to Colorado, and they signed him. Not off to the best start there. 3 points in 10 games, 2 goals, 1 assist. And you look at a guy like Jonathan Taves, who the Jets got as their center, where he's got 5 points in 9 games, 2 goals, 3 assists. I never really, I saw someone tweet it out. I wasn't really thinking of the Taves-Nelson comparisons, but I don't know if it's working out so well there in Colorado, but hey, they are they're 5-1 so they're doing something right here with a +7 goal differential.
Well, and listen, they got their hands full tonight though, because they have the New Jersey Devils, who've won 8 in a row coming in. It'll be a great test for New Jersey. Jack Hughes is playing, right up there with the best in the league, and that'll be one of the feature marquee matchups tonight in the NHL. We're gonna have Josh Goldberg jump on. Just interesting chat. When we're talking about the changes to the lines, and I think your boy Bruce makes a great point, Reem, that we probably shouldn't be surprised that there was some sort of change coming, considering Scott Arniel's post-game mood after the loss to Utah on Sunday.
No, not surprised to us. He was not happy after that game and talked about needing to put in a 60-minute effort. So something to watch for, trying to get that spark, to play that full game. And he liked the second period, or sort of like the first period, didn't like the second.
Did not like the second period.
Did not like the second, so we'll see if they can put it together. And I do think you have a bit more balance moving up Nemestikov here and elevating Barron.
Yeah, you bet. We'll talk more about this. Actually, hear a little bit from Gustav Nyquist and Logan Stanley in a minute. We're going to dive into the Jays first up. Josh Goldberg's going to join us, and then we'll head to the Twin Cities with Jessi Pierce around the top of the hour. Before we do that, folks, if you're looking for a great spot, either just to hang out with your friends, to go with the family event, or host a party or gathering, you got to check out Winnipeg and Manitoba's premier entertainment spot, which, of course, is Uptown Alley, their new facility at 1301 St. Matthews Avenue. They have it all. 5-pin bowling, 10-pin bowling, an incredible games area, not to mention a great spot for a few cold ones, and amazing food as well. They do have a special after 9 p.m. every day where you can get 90 minutes of bowling and a $10 arcade credit for just $20.49 for 5-pin, $22.49 for 10-pin. Great spot to get in there a little late if you're looking to do something. And as far as planning either corporate events, group events, or parties, they can do it all for you with great eats, great drinks, and a whole lot of fun on the lanes and on all the games. Go to uptownalley.ca for more information, or give them a call, 488-0000, and we'll get you out to Uptown Alley. And we are planning into the new year, I think, what's going to be a really, really fun WST event with our friends at Uptown Alley. Looking forward to do exactly that. Gang, if you have a move coming up for you and your family, it can be stressful. We know. Let our friends at Rollies take as much of the stress out of it as possible. like they've been doing for Winnipeggers and Manitobans for over 60 years. Family owned and operated, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Head on over to Rollies.com. A great website. You can see all about their history, their services. Top right corner, click on Request an Estimate. Use that promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. Lock in when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to go, and the friendly staff at Rollies will turn that around quickly with the great quote and get you locked in for the white glove service that Rollies is famous for. For all your moving needs, Rollies Transfer. Find out more. Request an estimate today over at Rollies.com. I wonder if any of our listeners had an early morning appointment over at St. Vital Dental Center. Can tell you, Dr. Terry, huge Jays fan. He was out there for the ALCS. I know he stayed up last night. But you know what? He and his staff is always there for you, as they've been doing for generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. If you are looking for a new dentist to take care of you and your family, check out St. Vital Dental Center. A pillar of the community, and now with a beautiful new facility, 167 St. Anne's, convenient free parking right behind the building, and a full array of dental services for clients from 6 months to 99 plus. Go to stvitaldental.ca for more information and to book an appointment, and tell them the boys that WST sent you. And hey, just before we bring in Josh, do not forget, gang, that limited quantities are still available of the special Canadian Club Blue Bomber label bottle. Holidays coming up. Great gift idea. Great cup parties as well. Of course, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Canadian Club, keeping Bomber fans refreshed throughout the season. But Canada's official #1 oldest Canadian whiskey is also available at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And for Blue Bomber fans, make sure to grab that special Bomber label bottle while supplies last at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And of course, you'll have a chance to get that CC at Princess Auto Stadium one more time in the 112th Grey Cup. We'll see whether the Bombers can be there, if they can make their way through the East. We'll talk about that with Pat Neufeld, who's going to join us a little later on. But as the World Series continues, let's bring in our pal Josh Goldberg to discuss the epic 18-inning game last night. Josh, what's up, man? Thanks so much for doing this. You tired today like everyone else in the country?
Yeah, understatement. Very, very tired. It's even more so because of the way that the game ended, but still one of the wilder events I can recall, certainly in baseball. And I mean, since the Dodgers last played an 18-inning game 7 years ago. So it was quite something I'm sure most people won't soon forget.
You know what? Listen, I want to pick through last night's game and get to tonight with you in a minute. But I missed you. You know, I actually did a last-minute trip out, and I made it to Game 2, and I saw your picture. I think I was directly below you. What were you, in 214?
Oh, sorry. I screwed something up.
Remo just muted you for a minute. Just give us just a minute. We'll get the sound back. Very key part of interviewing is being able to hear the answers of our guests. So Josh is back. But yeah, I missed you. I mean, what a incredible atmosphere around Toronto. Listen, Game 2, we got to see an absolutely classic performance from Yamamoto. And a lot of people blame that game on the Jonas Brothers. Not sure, but it was, I'm sorry I missed you, but man, what a first couple games in Toronto. And listen, this series is really delivering. And I think it speaks to what we saw last night. Like, this Jays team is taking the best punches from the Dodgers and still hanging around.
Yeah, it's been an extremely competitive series for the most part. You know, the only game that was really a blowout, the Jays won. Yeah, game 2 wasn't that close or competitive down the stretch, but you know, like the Jays, it was still a 2-run game, well past the midway point of the game. So they've handled themselves very well so far. I didn't expect the Dodgers would just roll all over them. That just hasn't been the MO of the Blue Jays all season long. And the Dodgers aren't the kind of runaway freight train I think a lot of people expected that they would be. But Last night's just a particularly tough game to lose because the Jays had their chances. A lot of them, probably too many to count. Couldn't come up with a big hit. Gave up that home run to Ohtani in the 7th. A lot of things that you're going to look back on, especially if the Jays don't find a way to win the series.
As far as we're doing the autopsy of last night's game. I mean, we hadn't even started the program, and there were people in the chat going, what the hell are they doing pitching to Ohtani in the 7th inning after he had 2 doubles and a home run, and we've seen what he's capable of. Is it a defensible move to pitch him like that, or was that the key mistake that certainly gave us an extra 3 hours of free baseball, but the key mistake from John Schneider looking back at that game?
Yeah, I would say the decision to pitch to him was the wrong one. I suppose I could see the argument for it. And if you were going to do it, you couldn't give him anything to hit. You couldn't give him anything over the heart of the plate. And they have a man visit, and Pete Walker goes out to talk to Dominguez, and he throws one literally right down the middle. And you're asking for trouble in that situation with a hitter as good as Ohtani is and a hitter as locked in as he was last night. So it was regrettable, to say the least, that was the pitch decision. I can maybe get on board with the idea of not intentionally walking him. I still think they should have, but if you were going to attack him, you can't be missing that badly on the first pitch, and one that I'm sure they would like to have back.
It's so hard to Monday morning quarterback a game like that last night, Josh, because it's right there with the longest games in World Series history. There were so many things that happened that, if you knew you were going to go to 18 innings, obviously you're going to make different decisions. But it did seem like they were aggressively trying to put themselves in the best chance early on to get that run. But then when it didn't happen, they were basically left with the combo Toronto Buffalo Bison's roster, it looked like, going up against the Dodgers, who had all their big bats still in the lineup.
Yeah, some of the decisions were probably more defensible than others. Bo Bichette could barely run, so I don't really see a problem pinch running him in that situation. Sort of the same situation with Kirk. It was well into extra innings. That one is probably closer to being not as defensible because the Blue Jays had already proven over multiple innings that they were having a hard time generating any offense, any hits, any base runners, and taking Kirk out really hurts your chances of doing much productive at the plate. The one that I had the biggest problem with was taking out Addison Barger for Miles Straw as a pinch runner. I just don't think that the upgrade Straw provides in terms of speed over Barger was worth the hit you were going to take offensively for however many at-bats that turn in the order was going to get. I just think it just was not worth that. And obviously it ended up coming to really bite them because Straw got 4 or 5 plate appearances. I can't, one of the two. And he did absolutely nothing with them. And it doesn't take too much of a stretch to envision Addison Barger, who had a solid night last night, doing something productive in one of those spots and potentially delivering in a way to allow the Blue Jays to win the game.
I'm with you. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze when it came to pulling Barger out. And by the way, that throw that he made early on in that game from right field to nail the Dodger runner at home was about as good of a throw as you will ever see. 98.5 out of his hand, perfectly in the spot, and he nailed him. He does add to it, and it's not like he's Kirk. He still has some hops, so I'm with you. I just didn't think that it was worth it. And just, the guys that went in, and we'll talk about Springer in a minute and see what the story is for him. That was really unfortunate with Springer having to leave the game after hitting his oblique. But France came in, but IKF was 0 for 4. Heineman was 0 for 3. And Straw was 0 for 4. Those 3 replacements, 0 for 11 at the plate, without really any dangerous hits at all. And it was sort of like they were playing with half a lineup against this Dodgers all-star team that is inevitable at some point when you give them that many opportunities.
Yeah, like those guys were 0 for 11, and the 3 guys they replaced, I believe, were 6 for 12 combined. It's just a really tough situation to find yourself in. And the Blue Jays just couldn't get that big hit. Like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. got on base a couple of times in extras, but it was more walks and singles instead of extra base hit stuff. They had plenty of chances. I think they ended up leaving 19 runners on base. You can't say that they didn't have their opportunities to cash in, but it just was very difficult when you have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa in the 4-hole and Springer's out as well. You just didn't have that kind of guy that could make that impact, that difference when you really needed it. And obviously it was the difference in the game.
What are you hearing about the Springer situation? It seemed like he knew the second it happened that something was off. It's got to be a lot to have a guy take himself out of a World Series game. And man, is that going to complicate things if he's not able to play tonight?
I would personally be surprised if he played again in the series, considering, there's 4 days left in this season. Basically, I guess Game 7 would be Saturday, I want to say. So That's not a lot of time. If it's an oblique strain, he went for an MRI. It was side discomfort. Maybe it won't be. But at the very least, it's hard to envision a scenario where he's playing tonight. And that's really tough. They just don't have anyone available. I'm sure they'll add Loperfido to the roster, and maybe he plays against a right-handed pitcher like Ohtani. But Springer can change the course of a game in one swing. We saw it in Game 7 against Seattle. So whatever they look to do, whoever they look to put in the leadoff spot, you're going to be in a really tough situation without George Springer. And I expect that is going to be the outcome tonight and for however long the season continues for the Blue Jays.
I was texting with some friends as we all were staying up last night as it went inning after inning after inning. And, I was saying to guys, hey, listen, you've taken the Dodgers' best shot. Ohtani has 2 homers and 2 doubles, and you're still in extra innings. And, that is something to be said. But as you said, just the lineup was so depleted due to injury and due to those difference makers being out of the lineup. You just had to hope that one of these unheralded players that's not a regular was going to do something special and be a World Series hero. We didn't really get much. There were some great heroic performances, though, in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Eric Lauer, I don't know what you can say about him. He was so good early on in the season, faded in the second half. He looked like that guy that was a reliable workhorse for them in the first half of the season. Kind of too bad that, he didn't get rewarded for what would have gone down as one of the most incredible relief appearances in World Series history.
Yeah, one of the more unsung performances by a Blue Jays pitcher that I can remember. Like his probably max out pitch count in a perfect world would have been 30 if I had to guess, and he threw more than double that and did everything he could to give them a chance. I think he threw 4 2/3. Unfortunately, he was matched by Will Klein of the Dodgers, who I also believe went 4 2/3, had 5 strikeouts, didn't really give an inch. So it's especially difficult that you got that performance from the second last reliever in your bullpen in that spot. And still couldn't find a way to win. It's going to be unfortunately probably just a footnote, unless the Blue Jays find a way to win the series, and then maybe you can look back on it as something that could be like a cool trivia answer if you talk about the World Series winning Blue Jays in 2025.
What did you think of Scherzer?
I thought he was good. He was way better than I expected. Yeah, he made a couple of mistakes. Ohtani got him twice. He threw a really bad, I believe, slider to Teoscar Hernandez that backed up on him. But otherwise, he did everything I could have expected. Pitched deeper into the game than probably a lot of people anticipated. I thought his stuff was crisp. He was throwing harder. I thought it was about as good as he was going to do against the lineup like that.
You know, focusing in on tonight's game, I've run out of superlatives to describe what Ohtani does regularly. His game last night, the game against Milwaukee, the 3 homers, the 10 strikeout games. Josh, just cheering for the Jays and all that. This is as baseball fans, I just feel lucky to be living in the Ohtani era and being able to watch this guy do what he's doing each and every game, even if right now it's a mandatory intentional walk every time he comes up.
Yeah, it's harder when you're looking at it from the Jays' perspective because he's just torturing them. But when you try and look at it objectively as just a fan of the game of baseball, it's hard not to look at it and say this is unprecedented because it is. We're talking about since Babe Ruth, and considering the quality of competition, it's hard to believe that he's as good as he is doing both things. It's the greatest talent I've ever seen. Maybe he's not the greatest hitter, but he's still a historically great hitter and an amazing pitcher. And there's a very good chance that he does something special on both sides of the ball tonight. And that's unfortunately pretty tough reality for the Blue Jays when they know that they have to conquer him in the batter's box and also conquer him on the mound. So it's going to be doubly difficult when you have that level of talent coming at you from both sides.
What do you think the marathon last night does to the pens for both teams tonight? Ohtani, just, with his surgery, whatnot, he's not a guy that they're pushing 8 and 9 innings on. He usually goes maybe 5, 6. And that means both of these teams I expect to get in and probably have significant responsibility on guys that all pitched last night.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, especially if one or both starters aren't at their best. How quickly, are you going to be more conservative in terms of how you deploy your bullpen, considering just the tax that was put on both of them last night, and the fact that there's another game tomorrow without an off day? I think it could be a really interesting chess match. Obviously, both managers are hoping that their starting pitchers give them 6 innings or more, and it makes it less of a relevant conversation. But with the caliber of offense on both sides, it wouldn't be that surprising if at the very least they grind each starting pitcher, even if it doesn't result in a lot of hits or a lot of runs, maybe driving up the pitch count. Guys are, at this stage of the season, guys are throwing 2-3 days in a row. It doesn't matter the amount of pitches. There is no tomorrow in a lot of cases. All you have to do is get into off-season mode if this doesn't go the way that you want, or if you find a way to win the World Series. So you're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at the other team. And if it results in an injury or something like that, you'll deal with it, because the opportunity to win the World Series doesn't come around very often.
What did you think about Yamamoto getting up in the pen late, and Shane Bieber basically was next man up?
Yeah, I had a hard time seeing Yamamoto pitch, considering he had 1 day off after throwing 105 in a complete game. I guess if it kept going, anything's possible. Probably a blessing in disguise that Shane Bieber did not have to even warm up. There was a little bit of stretching, and he should be good to go with no restrictions or limitations of any kind tonight. I thought the Dodgers might throw a position player out. There was that on the Fox broadcast. There was some rumblings about that. Yeah, that was crazy. That was never going to happen.
Fake news, Josh. Fake news.
That was. I was surprised anyone would believe that, because there's just no that's a fireable offense if you're a manager. We're not talking about how it's like you're up 3-0 in the series. We're talking 1-1. You took home field advantage back and you're going to throw a position player out there. There was no chance that was ever happening. I thought it might have been like a bluff. He was referring to Ohtani. Obviously, it didn't end up coming to that point, but I thought that was just a complete insanity.
Yeah, I mean, there was so much to game. And, I think back to all the things that were just sort of glossing over from the first 8 or 9 innings because of the marathon nature of the extras. But it had everything, some incredible defensive plays, some base running gaffes. I got to ask you, what the heck let's go to the start of the game. The Varsho walk that wasn't with Bo on, how did you see that transpire? And, was that on the players or is that an umpire that didn't seem to like Varsho walking before he made the call?
I think it's more on the players. The call was bad, and the strike zone was pretty consistently bad, whether it was up or down. Calls were being missed regardless. And there's no excuse for that, no question. But at the same time, you, as a pro, you got to be a little bit more heads up than that. Like Dalton Varsho tossing his bat after there was a pretty clear on the replay strike motion. Yes, it was delayed, but also on the mic'd up, you could hear the umpire gesture and say strike. And then if you're Bo Bichette, like I understand he's playing off of Varsho, but you just have to be sharper in that situation. And you can't be making outs like that, regardless of how egregious the missed call was. You just can't allow yourself to be put in a position where you're getting caught napping off of first base because you're reacting to your teammate tossing his bat, thinking it's a walk.
Josh Goldberg with us, Blue Jays Nation, getting ready for Game 4 tonight. It's the one nature of this, as opposed to, for instance, hockey playoffs where, you'll have a 4 or 5 overtime game. There's always a day off in between. I mean, the fact that this is getting going again, like 16 hours from the final out last night, listen, it's incredible. And I'm fascinated to see how this game plays out tonight. First of all, how Bieber and Ohtani do, but what these guys have left after, one of the longest games in the history of playoff baseball.
I guess from the Blue Jays perspective, maybe you're hoping that those questionable early pulls of some players allows them to be a bit fresher than some of the guys who obviously played the full 18 innings. It's hard to say. It really is. Like that throws your whole routine out of whack, no question, with a game as long as it was. I still expect that the cream will rise to the top and your best players are still going to be able to make an impact. And the Blue Jays are going to need that at this point now. If they want to win this series, their guys have got to be, the linchpins. Vladdy's got to be an aircraft carrier and start doing more damage like we saw in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. Or, unfortunately, this thing might slip away sooner than everyone hopes.
We're not expecting Springer tonight. Do we expect Bo, Kirk? I mean, listen, it's all hands on deck, and I think if guys are able to play, they will. But just how different might this lineup be tonight as opposed to what we saw yesterday?
I think it'll mostly be the same. Depending on what happens with Springer, you'll probably slot somebody else in there. I don't know who, to be totally honest, because there's just not really anyone you look at on the bench and say is a great matchup against Ohtani. So they'll have to figure that out. They'll also have to figure out who's going to bat in the leadoff spot. Maybe it's Nathan Lucas. Maybe you bump guys up a spot. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but I think the lineup is mostly going to look the same as it did last night before guys started getting removed later in the game.
Josh, great stuff, man. As I say, I was sorry I missed you at the game on Saturday, but it was something else. Hey, just as an aside, what did you think of and I talked about this a little yesterday, the Stand Up for Cancer thing, which is obviously a very noble thing, that whole thing seemed so misplaced at the end of the 5th inning in the middle of a World Series game. Like, it just felt like it took the juice out of the building so much. I mean, the somber music and everything like that. And then going into that Jonas Brothers performance, one of the more bizarre things that I've seen, and we've seen all sorts of initiatives like this, just the timing of it seemed like it just was weird. Like, what did you think of that? You were in the building.
Yeah, I think it's a great cause, like you said, no question. I would probably just do it right before the game. I understand that there's some routine stuff if you're a starting pitcher, but you do it maybe after the anthem or something like that, and it's before the game, and you don't disrupt the flow of the game by like 10 to 15 minutes with the Jonas Brothers as well. That's a long break in a close, tense game. There has to be a better way to time that out. I have no issue with it. I think it's a great cause, like I said.
Of course, we're not pro-cancer.
Definitely not. I'm glad that they do it. Just do it at a more opportune time than right in the middle of the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, that being said, that night was incredible. We saw a masterclass from Yamamoto. And for Jays fans, I mean, I guess it comes down to this. Can your big trade deadline acquisition, Shane Bieber, come up with another big-time pitching performance? Because let's face it, the Jays absolutely need it tonight more than ever. And, and then we'll see how they go to it. I mean, I would have been happy if they let Bassett go a little bit longer. There was a few other guys, but again, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback that, knowing now that the game went 18 innings as opposed to what normally happens in these situations.
Yeah, you can always look back and wonder if a certain guy could have been pushed a little bit more. But I feel like the bullpen stuff kind of goes out the window when you have Lauer pitch the way that he did. Yeah, it kind of covers up, well, maybe you could have pushed so-and-so, in this case, Bassett, a little bit longer. I feel like the bullpen stuff is nowhere near the top of the list of, I guess, gripes that I have with how that game unfolded. It was really about some of the substitutions on the offensive side. And then obviously, I think they had 2 hits and 26 at bats after the 10th inning. You're not going to win many games with hitting like that.
Needed one. I was right behind JD Bunkus at game 2, and around the 6th inning, he said, this just sort of feels like whoever gets their solo shot first is going to do it. And the Jays really needed a solo shot because with the guys in the lineup, they just weren't able to generate multiple hits to turn it around. Well, we'll see what happens tonight. Fingers crossed we can get this one to 2-2. It's been epic so far. And baseball fans, regardless of which side you're on, I think would love to see this series get back to Toronto for some more drama. Josh, thanks so much for doing this, dude.
All right, Huss. Good to talk to you.
I appreciate you, buddy. All right, there is Josh Goldberg. We're going to switch it up and get ready for tonight's game between the Jets and the Wild. Jessi Pierce coming up in just a minute. Do want to thank our friends at Princess Auto for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, the countdown to the Grey Cup at Princess Auto Stadium is on. We're going to talk to Pat Neufeld on the show a little bit later on today. Of course, Princess Auto founded and headquartered right here in Winnipeg, but now coast to coast, and proud supporters of the Bombers and their home, Princess Auto Stadium. Pop by your local Princess Auto for the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new waiting for you at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them in-store today or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Hey, we've got all the games, all the teams in the NHL playing tonight. Perfect day to tee up tomorrow's NHL Power Poll. Of course, our Power Polls are brought to you by Chud's Power Sports in Gimli, Manitoba's #1 power sports superstore, part of the community for over 80 years with an incredible staff with more than 140 years of getting people into great machines to have incredible fun, both in the summer and the winter. Of course, they've got spooktacular deals right now on Polaris and Arctic Cat sleds because the snow is about to fly and snowmobiling season is just around the corner. Go to chudspowersports.com to check out everything that they've got going on. They've got some special offers and deals there. You can also talk to them about their incredible parts department. If you need a couple things that you're getting fixed to get ready for the upcoming season, the friendly people at Chuds will help you out with that as well. And hey, I know you all like great deals. Check out truenorthparts.ca for some awesome clearance deals on gear and accessories just in time for snowmobile season. At the corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli, Chud's Power Sports, proud sponsor of WST, our power poles, and getting you ready for snowmobile season, ice fishing, and so much more. And hey, Manitoba Battery, speaking of people that have been with us for a while, Donnie and the gang, great supporters of ours and great supporters of local Manitobans, because the winter's coming up and you better believe your car or truck better be good to go. Free battery testing at both locations for Manitoba Battery. Pop by and see them. Test it out. If you need a new one, you'll get the best price in town because, of course, Manitoba Battery's beating the pants off the big box stores with the lowest prices in town. Great service, citywide delivery inside the perimeter. It's all waiting for you at Manitoba Battery, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive, or order online today at manitobabattery.com. All right, to the Twin Cities we go. The bar down Butte herself, Jessi Pierce, joins us now before renewing the rivalry between the Jets and the Wild. Jessi, what's up? Great to have you back on the show.
Always good to be back, Huss. How are we doing? Renewing the rivalry, that would require some better play from maybe this local team I've got here, I think.
Yeah, well, I wanted to get to that. I mean, honestly, everyone is just so, obviously the entire country's dialed into the Blue Jays and the World Series, and 18 innings last night. Game ended about 2 a.m. So time to get right back at it tonight for Game 4. And, of course, this game between the Jets and the Wild. First off, before we talk about it, it's going to be an interesting uni matchup tonight. The Jets bringing their Heritage Blues. And what are the Wild are debuting with their 25th anniversary white kits?
25th anniversary. They will wear them 4 times this year. This is the first time Marian Gabrick will be in attendance. Brian Rolston, Pierre-Marc Bouchard, some of those big names from the heydays, guys that have experienced deep playoff runs too. Something that the current squad has yet to do, but it should be a fun night. I like the throwbacks. I always love a good throwback. You got to mix it up once in a while. I was never crazy about the OG unis personally for the Wild. But you know what? I know a lot of fans are. It should be a pretty fun sight.
Now, as far as the team, you mentioned Gaborik and some of the guys coming back as part of the festivities. Maybe that'll be a boost to a team that has not had a great start. I mean, we talk about these 10-game segments. I mean, anytime you're 2 games below 500 or only 3 wins through 10 games, I know Bill Guerin probably has not been in a great mood about this. I mean, how would you describe what the Wild have done through 10 so far this season?
That's not a lot to say, frankly. You go back to the very first game in St. Louis, where I think everybody was very excited for them to come out with a 5-0 trouncing of the Blues on the road. However, St. Louis also struggling, and I think that was very evident on how Minnesota took advantage. Unfortunately, they haven't faced any teams that are like St. Louis since then. They have just struggled from top to bottom. I can't really say that there's an area of strength right now. Unfortunately, the defense is a little bit leaky. Something that Minnesota usually prides itself on is that stinginess, and that's kind of been a factor, as well as the offense obviously not being able to put the puck in the back of the net. They just cannot. They're generating opportunities here and there, but they're not finishing on those opportunities, especially 5-on-5. So put that together, and that's the record that you're getting for Minnesota. The tension, there's not too much tension in the room yet, which I think is probably a good thing. And I do believe that one win could certainly swing this thing around for them, but it's going to be a tall order to do so against your Winnipeg Jets.
I mean, the bottom line is that, we know Bill Guerin and what he's made of. I mean, the expectations for this team are to be a playoff team, to make that next step. I mean, this is not a transition year or anything like that. They just got Kaprizov done to the deal. How has Bill gently nudged his team in public at all right now, or is it mostly being kept back into his office?
It's in the office. There have been conversations. We do know that there have been sit-downs with some of the leadership, including Marcus Foligno, Jared Spurgeon, Kirill Kaprizov, to try to get a feel of what exactly is wrong. I mean, if you remember, this is the same roster, a very similar roster, rather, that the Minnesota Wild started last year. They were a top 5 team in the league with these guys. You're missing Matt Zuccarello, sure, but I don't think anybody would have kind of down and out with a player like Zuccarello, especially when you add a Vladimir Tarasenko Thinko and them taking that next step, and Kirill Kaprizov, as you mentioned, obviously doing his thing. And Boldy and Kaprizov have been the shining. But unfortunately for Minnesota and its fans, if they're not scoring, ain't nobody scoring. I don't think anybody would Hansen to be a savior of this team, although he's on the top line and he put 3 goals in 2 games. So it's hard to put a finger on what is going wrong. And I think the panic button. However, it wouldn't surprise me if he is keeping an eye on to make some moves in the next month.
Yeah, just 1 win in their last 7 games, which, is surprising. I would imagine this is going to be a team in a pretty ornery mood, though, when you consider an overtime loss. Tell us about this overtime for people that didn't see the overtime against the Sharks. I mean, the Sharks never touched the puck, and then they won.
It was crazy. As Minnesota fans will often say, only here in Minnesota. I mean, I kid you not, Huss. The Minnesota Wild had possession the entire overtime. There was but maybe one brief instant where San Jose touched the puck, and the next thing you know, Brock Faber fires a shot in. Great save from Veggie for the Sharks, but that rebound pops right out to Macklin Celebrini, who's making the change. He goes down for a breakaway. Macklin Celebrini, heck of a player. He pots it, and game over. So one shot is literally all it took for San Jose to win. And a credit to San Jose, they came out firing as well. The Minnesota Wild have done this pretty consistently. They dig a hole for themselves. That's very hard to come out. Now, it's great that the Wild climbed back into it to force that overtime off a great tip in by Joel Eriksson in the front there. But yeah, that overtime just dagger to the heart for Minnesota Wild and its fans.
Well, and I mean, that was coming off the previous day or previous game against the Utah Mammoth. And listen, we saw Utah come in the next day and beat the Jets on the second end of back-to-back with a big goal in the third period. But that was a 6-2 game. I mean, like we're right now, we're sort of been used to who the top dogs in this division had been. The Utah Mammoth sort of rolled in and announced their arrival as a legit contender in the Central Division right now. And kind of funny that both of these teams saw. What was that one like at the XL Energy Center when the Mammoth came in for the first time?
The Logan Cooley show continued for Minnesota fans who already knew him from the University of Minnesota Gophers. And I laugh because I know Nate Schmidt was dreading going to Winnipeg because I know all of the University of Minnesota Bulldog squads that are affiliated with the Winnipeg Jets. So the Gophers, Nate Schmidt's Gophers played UMD, got swept. So I'm sure he got hassled for that a bit in the locker room too. But no, again, it was one that came off the rails early. It was 3 goals in 4.5, almost 5 minutes of the game. And Minnesota just couldn't piece it back together to get themselves out of it. And I think the biggest issue that Minnesota had with Utah's fast. And you saw it for Minnesota in New Jersey the night before. They cannot keep up with the pace. There's just, it's not there for Minnesota. They cannot keep up with the young teams like that. San Jose a little bit as well, but primarily Utah. And personally, I think it's kind of fun. I don't always love having, yes, as you mentioned, teams in your division succeed, but for Utah, I kind of dig it. It's kind of fun to watch.
Well, just being a hockey fan, there is so much young talent on that team. And, we've been waiting for the former Coyotes to kind of get their act together at some point. And, they were basically a dumping ground for contracts for a long time. Now that they have, in a new market with legitimate ownership that's committed to taking them forward, we've all of a sudden got another, I think, real contender in this division. Back to the Wild, though, for a minute. Special teams, man, it's Jekyll and Hyde. The power play is right at the top of the league, and the penalty kill is cooking around 60%, good for, I believe, 31st. What's happening with the man advantage, and why is it so different than when they're short?
It's tale as old as time for the is always rearing its head. It's very different. They're trying to make personnel changes. It comes down to faceoffs. The Minnesota Wild really, really struggle at the dot in the first place, but particularly in their defensive zone. It's just kind of a constant issue for them. They cannot win the puck when they need to most. And I think that's really what it comes down to. And it's not even just this season. It goes back a number of years for Minnesota. And that's why special teams have always kind of been this anomaly that gets away from them. It was a big reason that the Minnesota Wild went out and got Nico Sturm this offseason, is because they needed that special player on the PK. They needed him to win those faceoffs. Unfortunately for the Minnesota Wild, Nico Sturm also injured lineup, but I hope when he returns, that's obviously going to elevate and buoy their special teams up a little bit, especially on that PK.
Well, from what I've seen, I haven't seen a ton of the Wild so far this year, but the one thing that's really stood out to me on the power play is this Zeev Boyum. Like all young defensemen, I think there is maybe outside of Matthew Schaefer, who's playing like 26 and a half minutes a night for the Islanders right now. It's absolutely incredible. But, listen, there's an adjustment process of the defensive side of the game and playing against the best players in the world. But my God, is this kid skilled, talented, skates like the wind, and has like a little bit, dare I say it, a little bit of Makar in him, the way he skates and is able to move the puck. Listen, I'm not saying he's there, but you see glimpses of an elite, high-end offensive talent in Boyum.
Maybe it's that college hockey connection, right? Makar's got that in him. Zeev Boyum out of the University of Denver. I always forget which one because I think they call themselves DU, but I'm pretty sure they're the University of Denver. Either way, the Pioneers, if you will. Zeev quarterbacking that power play. There has been a little bit of movement on that too because you can tell sometimes he's still very young. Offensively, so gifted and so talented. But then there's those defensive lapses and those defensive mistakes that I think they're still trying to iron it out. The great thing is the Minnesota Wild are allowing him to iron them out live in action in the NHL. It's not a situation where you need to send him down to the American Hockey League to fix some of these mistakes. I think I love that they're giving him the opportunity to do so. So offensively, Zeev has been a blessing. It's just kind of realizing, I think sometimes for him, this isn't college hockey anymore. This isn't World Junior Hockey. It is, in fact, the NHL. So I think sometimes there's a little bit of that learning curve, but luckily he, for the most part, has been paired with Jared Spurgeon, a great stay-at-home response. You love to see that, too.
Hey, what through 10 games, what's the goaltending report card looking like for the Wild?
I'm starting to watch it a little bit more closely. I was kind of giving them a pass for a bit because the defense has been so leaky and there has been so much inconsistency and uncharacteristic mistakes being made defensively that I've kind of tending a little bit of a slide. However, you need them to steal a game right now. This is the most imperative time for them to do that. Philip Gustafsson is very capable a number of times in the past few seasons. So I would like to see more of that. I would like to see them really kind of stand on top of their and getting the lion's share. Jesper Bellstead has done okay in the moments that he's come in, but I think there's another to really help to be needed when the offense can't start clicking and find the back of the net themselves.
I would imagine, based on the 3-5-2 record and knowing what we know about U.S. Thanksgiving and the importance of the first 20-25 games, I'm expecting a real sense of urgency with this Wild team tonight. Is that the gist you're getting from them? They kind of understand that, these first 10 games, if you do that again for the next 10, you could have a real uphill battle for the rest of the schedule?
It's my favorite saying, you can't win the cup in October, but you sure as heck now the Minnesota Wild. Well, we know how difficult the Central Division is to begin with. It's not getting any easier. It's not going to be any better for them. And yes, you can understand that you're missing Matt Zuccarello or Nico Sturm, but need to be able to produce with the players that you have. You need to get more out of Tarasenko. You need to get a little bit more out of Yakov Trenin, Marcus Foligno. Ryan Hartman is kind of up and down, a little bit inconsistent. Joel Eriksson has been fine, but players to hit that level. And there is a sense of urgency. I actually asked John Hines the other night, is there a desperation almost? And that's why maybe the team is struggling and gripping their sticks a little bit. And he said they've been doing a good job at keeping that out. But
Jess, one more thing I wanted to get to before we break. There's rumors of a Heritage Classic game coming to Winnipeg next year. And outside at Princess Auto Stadium here in Winnipeg. They had the one game in, 2014 against the Oilers. They then played an outdoor game in Regina, kind of the meet them in the middle against the Calgary Flames a few years back. But, we've heard Elliot Friedman and a number reporting that next year would be the game. So on the show, we've been talking about, well, who would you like to see the Winnipeg Jets play? And now, traditionally, the Heritage Classic games have generally been all Canadian matchups. It was Winnipeg, it was Calgary, we've seen Montreal play in. But we did a poll of okay, who would be the best matchup for the Winnipeg Jets? And myself and a lot of people lean on the Wild. It's a great rivalry. It's the closest one. Do you think that if the Wild were playing Winnipeg in an outdoor game next season, that a large number of Wild fans would be buckling up for the trip, including yourself?
I think so. I would for sure come to that. That sounds incredible. Peg, right? I hear it could be a little tough. You guys get a tough rap, but I need to go check it out for myself, I think. I would love to do it in that capacity. But I do. I think Minnesota Wild fans, for an outdoor game like that, it would be so much fun. Plus, hasn't Canada kind of adopted Minnesota as one of its own? You know, we're just kind of right there. We're just a little bit south of.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, there's the Minnesota Nice. I mean, we seem to get on. I mean, hell, we've probably got 5,000 Viking season ticket holders in southern Manitoba.
Right.
So for the most part, when we're talking about other things, but it's just, I mean, it's always fun. Jet fans travel down to Minnesota. We have seen lots of fans come up for games before, but those outdoor games are so cool. And I mean, they're great if you really do have large contingents of fans from both teams. Have the Wild played an outdoor game before?
We had rude. They had the Stadium Series. They had the Chicago Blackhawks in town for that. That was a number of years ago down at the University of Minnesota campus. And then they had the Winter Classic against the St. Louis Blues. You probably forgot about it because the Blues absolutely rocked the Minnesota Wild. It was not a fun game, and it was, honest to Pete, 50 below zero, which of course Minnesota fans thrive in that environment. So that's the other reason I think they would love to come to Winnipeg and experience that, because we're very proud people when it comes to the cold weather. You guys know that as well. So I think it would certainly be fun as long as everybody has their mittens, keeping their beers warm, because that was the one complaint from the Winter Classic is you couldn't drink fast enough before it turned into a beer slushy.
Well, I tell you what, the if it does happen that the Wild would be the opponent, I think it would be an amazing event and something that would kind of take it from being just a cool local story here to, you know, something kind of cross the border that brings these two teams that have such a great rivalry together. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a few Blue Heritage unis in the XL Energy Center tonight for the 7 o'clock puck drop between the Jets and the Minnesota Wild. Fill people in on what you're doing with the podcast and where they can get all your work on covering the Minnesota Wild, Jess.
Yeah, all written work, NHL.com. And my podcast, We Bar Down Beauties, released a new episode today where we dive into the perils and struggles of the Minnesota Wild. So if you're looking to get a feel for where this team is at, I had some venting going, some brutal honesty from me about that, but that is on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Hey, enjoy the game tonight. Thanks so much for jumping on as always. And hopefully we'll see you in Winnipeg next year for an outdoor game.
Let's do it. It's always good to talk to you, bud.
Thanks so much. There's Jessi Pierce. Give her a follow on X. And again, all of her work over at NHL.com. All right, we fired up the clean line lines a little earlier today on the program. Vlad Nemetsnikov moving over to the left side. He'll be with Jonathan Taves and Alex Iafallo tonight. And Morgan Barron moving up in between Gus Nyquist, former Minnesota Wild from last year, and Nino Niederreiter, and Parker Ford going in between Koepke and Pearson. Of course, Clean Line, proud sponsors the Winnipeg Jets, and the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets has grown from a locally started business 40 years ago to one of the leaders in both commercial and residential plumbing, heating, and electrical services. Now, you don't want to have to call plumbers, but when you do, you want them to be the best in the biz. You want them to be reliable, and you might need them 24 hours a day. Cleanline has emergency services as well available at any time, any day. Find out more online, cleanline.ca. And as I said, captain approved by Adam Lowry, the official plumbing services of the Winnipeg Jets. Big thanks to Cleanline for their support of WST. Another great night to get to your local Boston Pizza. I mean, all the BP's lounges have been wild throughout this Blue Jays playoff run. Last night, pushed it right up until close, and obviously a disappointing end. But tonight, you're going to have to be watching the Jets and Wild. You're going to want to watching being Game 4 of the World Series, as well as the other 15 games in the NHL. Head on down to Boston Pizza, your chance to win great prizes with the Picker Player Contest for each and every Winnipeg Jets game, and some great Blue Jays prizes at your local Boston Pizza as well. And don't forget, the flight menu is in effect now. Wing flights, pizza flights, the new fry flights as well. And they're all there for you. Pick that up. And if you can also get in for the grand prize draw for the Flight Club trip for two to Anaheim to see the Jets and Ducks in late February. Boston Pizza tonight. You know where to do it. Get your gang together for the games and enjoy. Speaking of the World Series, got back last night from Toronto, and upon my return, realized that all of the World Series hats are in at Royal Sports. And let me tell you, you cannot even get these in Toronto right now. There were lineups. If you wanted to get into the team store on the weekend, you're basically talking about 2+ hours in line. And there are some people that went to the game that I think spent half of the game in line trying to get stuff with the World Series merch. If you go to Royal Sports on Instagram right now, at Royal Sports Winnipeg, you'll see him. I think Remis has a picture right here. But all of the hats with the World Series logos are in right now. But again, these are going to fly off the shelves. So if you've been waiting to try to get a Jays World Series lid, Royal Sports has them as of right now. So do not wait. Go down. There's fitteds, there's snaps, all with the World Series logo on them. Only at Royal Sports, just in yesterday. So get them before they're gone at Winnipeg's #1 sports superstore, Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. And again, check them out on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. We're going to hear from Logan Stanley and Gustav Nyquist in just a minute. Pat Neufeld is going to join us, but we got to give a quick cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug, who, by the way, if you've been in the airport recently, Little Brown Jug now has is a great addition to the airport. Winnipeg's favorite local beer to all of our visitors coming into Winnipeg. We've got the new Little Brown Jug bar. Make sure to check that out the next time you're over at James Richardson International. But big cheers to our friends at LBJ. We'll come back and get into a little bit more on tonight's game between the Jets and Wild and hear from former Wild player Gustav Nyquist.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right. We are going to be joined by Patty Neufeld a little later on. But, Remo, what are your thoughts on this game tonight? We've got an angry Jet team, I'm sure, going in against a really pissed off Wild team that has not been playing very good hockey lately, as we just heard from Jessi.
Yeah, great question, Huss, about tonight's game. Jets certainly not happy with the loss, not happy with their play. They changed up the lines. I do like the Jets. They played in Minnesota pretty well last year. Although Minnesota, I mean, you could say the same thing about them. They got lit up by the 3 stars of the week from the NHL, Celebrini, Jack Hughes, Logan Cooley. But I think the Jets are in a good spot here. Although you look at the lines here on Coolbet, Huss, it is a pick'em. So very tight, almost too close to call. But you look at the Jets' success against Minnesota last year. They own them. I think they've got a good shot of winning again tonight.
We're going to get into the entire rundown of the games in our Coolbet lines beforehand. And just a quick reminder before we get to the Jet Room, as soon as we are done WST today, through the magic of the internet, I will appear with Ed Tate on the Huddle on the Bomber YouTube channel. We'll do a raid over there, so stick around. We're going to be talking Bombers with Patty Neufeld. Going into Montreal, a little bit of a different playoff schedule and situation for the Bombers. We'll do that, and then I'll be jumping on with Ed to talk more about the upcoming game on Saturday afternoon for a trip to Hamilton to play in the East Final. But let's get to the Jet Room. Mitch Clinton hooked up with Big Stan, Logan Stanley, and let's face it, everyone's still talking about that game last night. Here's Stan on if he watched the game.
I watched some of it, yeah. I didn't catch the whole thing. I caught the highlights this morning. That was a marathon. So, you know what? It was a good baseball game.
game day had to get to bed, obviously. You've been obviously with this team for a long time. You guys have always been really good at bouncing back from losses or performances that you guys don't like. What's kind of been the key to that, as you've seen over the years? As the group's kind of changed here and there, but that mentality of being able to come back out and kind of wipe that previous game from the record.
Yeah, I think it's a mentality. I think it's good leadership, and we got a good hockey team in here, and we're not satisfied with losing hockey games. So, it's important to us to bounce back and respond when we don't have a good game or a tough loss. So, we want to have a good one tonight.
Games against the Wild, obviously divisional, but I mean, you guys were able to sweep the season series against them last year. All tight games, but what is it about maybe Minnesota that brings out the best in you guys?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to call it a rival, but divisional rival, and always tight checking games. They got a good team, big and strong and fast. So. They bring the best out of us, and it should be a good match.
I know after the game against Utah, Scott O'Neill was mentioning just wanting you guys to tighten up defensively. Obviously, it's something you guys would want to be talking about as well. What's maybe the priorities or maybe the first place you go to when you're trying to get back to that stingy level of D that you guys are so known for?
Yeah, I think our structure in our D zone, playing 5 guys in the same system and not running around. And then for D, our gaps, and our gaps are good when we have good back pressure. So, forwards hunting back and D staying up. And I think a combination of all those things, that's what gets it done.
All right, so there's Logan Stanley. He'll be back out on that 2 pairing with Neil Pionk tonight, filling the big shoes of Dylan Samberg, who continues to recover from his preseason injury. Interesting situation for Gus Nyquist. Of course, he was acquired by the Wild at the deadline last year. Did not go particularly well. He was asked, though, about the return to Minnesota tonight. Here's one of the newest Jets, Gus Nyquist.
No, I had a great time here. Both times I was here for the short amount. I guess last year I got to play a few more games than the other time I was around. But nothing but great things to say about this place. And, it's always a little bit weird coming back to where you previously played, but now I've played for quite a few teams, so it happens every now and then. So, but yeah.
Yeah, what'd you learn about their style of play, and what was it like to play with Kirill for the time that you did?
Kirill?
Yeah.
I mean, he's an amazing player. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the league, and one of those guys that can kind of drive and especially for a winger can drive a line and does a lot for this team and means a lot for that team. But then style of play. I mean, they're a structured team. They're hard to play against. Don't give up too many easy things, and another divisional opponent that we were up against here.
Much different style between Dean and John Hines?
Yeah, I mean, every coach is different, and everyone's got their things that they want their teams to do on the ice. So sure, there's small differences, but I don't know. It's it would be an in-depth question to go through, but yeah.
All right, there's Gus Nyquist, and one more from Gus, and this is just on has his transition to the Winnipeg Jets so far through this early point in the season.
It's been okay. I mean, obviously, it'd be nice to find a little bit more offense out there. But it's something we're working on in practice and talking about. And I think it comes from the defensive perspective too. We got to make sure we clean some things up there, and then offense can come from there. So kind of that's what we're focusing on.
Game like the other night where you have 4 shots, does that kind of make you feel like it's coming on that front? Or?
Well, I'm hoping. Just trying to shoot a little more. I think I can probably put a couple more pucks on net, and it'd be nice to see one go in here.
You've been on a bunch of teams, bunch of veteran teams. Just curious what you've seen from those groups and this group when it comes to bouncing back after losses, because you guys are 2-0 in that regard this year.
Yeah, and another big one tonight. I mean, obviously, especially when you're up against a divisional opponent, and it's a big game, any games. But like you said, bouncing back is key in this league. You don't want to lose twice ever. So done a good job of it so far, and then hopefully we can do it again tonight.
All right, there's Gus Nyquist. Hopefully he can get going tonight. He'll be playing with Morgan Barron, Niederreiter on a new look line put together by Jets head coach Scott Arniel. All right, gang, don't forget, Jets back in action on Thursday at home. First time for Jonathan Toews in his return playing against his old team, the Chicago Blackhawks, and it is the Halloween game. So get your best costume ready and get down to the building for a Thursday night tilt, which should be a very fun one down at Canada Life Center. And just before we bring in a very special guest, speaking of Thursday, midnight on Thursday is the deadline for the early bird prizes as part of the HSC Millionaire Lottery. If you get your tickets before midnight on Thursday, you're going to be eligible for two incredible prizes of $85,000 cash or a $74,000 BMW EV and $26,000 of Indigeno travel vouchers, or you can take the $85,000 cash. Plus, there's going to be 30 winners of $500 in gas and groceries from your local Red River Co-op. And you're not only going to be in for the early bird draws, but of course, the grand prize draw, which will make somebody Manitoba's newest millionaire. 6 grand prize options, 5 dream home packages worth $1.5 million, 4 in the city of Winnipeg or surrounding area, 1 on Vancouver Island, or you can take $1.25 million in tax-free cash. Get your tickets today and before Thursday's midnight early bird deadline, hscmillionaire.com, or if you want to buy them in person, pop by London Drugs or your local Red River Co-op store to do that. All right. Big game Saturday afternoon in Montreal. And what a pleasure to welcome in one of the horses on the offensive line of the Bombers. Pat Neufeld joined us now. What's going on, boss? How are you?
Doing great. We just finished our day on the field, had some pretty amazing lunch today, courtesy of Wade Miller. He had his big smoker trailer out front. He's been smoking brisket and pulled pork and chicken and stuff for us. So
nice.
We just had an unreal lunch. And
is there anything the boss doesn't do?
I don't think so, man. He does everything. He's all over this place. So we're extremely fortunate. He's at the head of this ship, and looking forward to a couple more days of practice here, and then getting out to Montreal.
Hey, before we get down to business and brass tacks on this big playoff game coming up, you've been here for a while. We just finished really a magical season in the stands. I mean, from a player, what does it mean to you have a fan base and a city that turns out the way that it has been, 14 straight sellouts and a sellout of the entire regular season? It seemed inconceivable a few years ago, and yet here we are right now.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's the number one sports atmosphere in the country. It's second to none. Our fans are the best in anything you could ask for, and just so passionate, so knowledgeable, have our backs through and through, and a tremendous amount of credit goes to the organization. Starts with Wade and his entire staff and in the offices there. There's a ton of people that put a tremendous amount of work into the season and to having the outcome that we had this year with our fans and get to football operations and the way our team's been rolling. Wasn't the perfect season, but I think we went out there and tried to put our best show on for our fans, and we're just so grateful to play in front of them.
Well, the goal, of course, will be to play in front of them in about 3 weeks.
Yep.
Of course, in the 112th Grey Cup, but a little bit different path laid out for the Bombers this year. The crossover team going over to Montreal.
Yeah, I mean, first time ever in my career that I've done this. First time I've ever played a playoff game in the East. But once the whistle's blown and that ball's kicked off, it's football, no matter where you're playing. So, they're a great team. They're a dangerous defense with a lot of things they do. They get after the quarterback. They chase the football down and create turnovers. So we have our hands full. We have a lot of tape on them, and we played them in a lot of meaningful games in the past. Obviously, a Grey Cup a couple years ago. But ultimately, it's going out there and playing our style of football.
It's been sort of a weird season for the Bombers. There's been some significant injuries, at different times. At times, the team hasn't looked real good, and then at times they've looked incredible. Now that the regular season is behind you, what's the feeling around the team about where you're at right now and what this team is capable in a time of year that no one knows more about at playoff football, considering what this team has done over the course of this era?
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're excited. the regular season's in the past. We can't go back in time. Try to learn as much as we possibly can from things that happened in the past. But ultimately, it's how you execute on game day, and really it comes down to a play-by-play level. And it takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of consistency, but that's how you have to approach this game, because we're not promised an extra day anymore. We're not promised more time with our teammates, so we got to take advantage of this opportunity and really play our best football. We did some great things. Our last regular season game against Montreal obviously had some guys resting, so looking forward to putting all the pieces together and going out and playing a great game.
Just quickly on that, I mean, it was such a weird scenario. First of all, that the team was likely going into the crossover, but the fact that your final game was against the Montreal Alouettes, where you'll be playing this week. I mean, I imagine from an offensive and a coaching perspective, you certainly don't want to show your hands and pull everything out. At the same point, you want to go in on a winning note. I mean, how did you, Reed, and the team kind of handle that very unique situation where you want to be doing good things, but the only thing that really matters is the matchup against that team the following week?
Yeah, and that's a tough spot to be in, and I think our coaching staff did a great job of acknowledging that and expressing that message to us, but also coming up with a concise game plan for us to go out and execute. And it wasn't perfect, but we got the job done, and there's things we can obviously improve on. But looking forward to this week and having everything ready to roll. We're gonna go and put our best foot forward, and having the opportunity to play the last regular season game and then go into the playoff game playing them. The preparation has already been there, so we already have a good chunk of preparation done, and I think that's just going to let us go out and kind of let it loose a little more, go play fast, and that lets us play physical and Bomber style.
Pat Neufeld's with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk ahead of Saturday afternoon's East Semi in Montreal. You'll be able to watch the game, of course, on TSN. Patty, we saw you guys running around today. It seemed like a pretty upbeat group on the field, excited about the opportunity ahead. How would you compare the practice week of the playoffs as opposed to the middle of the regular season? I mean, I know there's routine and you try and do the same things, but obviously it's a little different knowing the stakes of what you're going to go into.
Yeah, it's more exciting. It's faster. I think just because we know the stakes, what's going to happen if you don't go out and perform. So you have to maximize that practice. And it started with Osh. He talked about at the start of the week we have to go out and have fast, high-level practices. And as a group with a lot of veterans and young guys who've now come along 20-plus weeks, they understand what it's going to take. So we've had 2 great days of practice. We've been running around, flying around. I think our execution level is really high. Montreal's defense presents a lot of challenges. They have a lot of moving parts. Like I said, they get after the football. They try to create turnovers. So if we play fast and physical, that's going to be able to balance that out. But it just comes down to executing, and it's going to be a tremendous challenge because they're probably going to have those horns going. I know they don't let them, but I think people will probably find a way to sneak them in there, and we're going to deal with that and deal with the defense and go out and execute. You
guys were dealing with that today, being around the stadium. I mean, the noise and the horns that you guys are using in practice, like how annoying is that?
It's horrible. It's super annoying. But, the thought is if we can deal with that in practice where it's, just absurdly obnoxious and I can't even hear Chris next to me, then that's going to make game day hopefully a little easier. Hopefully it doesn't get to that. But I'm sure for you guys watching, it was pretty brutal.
Patty, let me ask you just about the offense overall. It was, I think we can say, kind of an inconsistent season. Again, there were players that are in and out. I mean, you had some very important guys that have been lost at times. But we also saw some games where this Bomber team was humming. I mean, the game against Hamilton just about a month ago might have been the best performance of the entire year. How close are you guys there to that point? And from your opinion, so much, I mean, listen, we simplify things and just talk about the quarterback, and it's all in the quarterback. This is a team game. When you guys are preparing for Montreal, knowing that you're going to have to go in on the road and play a very, very good team to get a win, from an offensive perspective, what are the keys to being the best version of this Blue Bomber team on Saturday.
Yeah, that's the name of the game. It's being on the same page. And for us, it's everyone knowing their assignment and everyone knowing the adjustment on the assignment. That's critical, especially in a noisy environment where we have to deal with a lot of different aspects. If we can be on the same page, whether it's the right page or the wrong page, we're going to have a chance. And I think when that happens, you see the game against Hamilton where we're all executing at a high level because we're on the same page and we're all, rolling at the same time. So I think if we can do that, we're going to be in a good spot. Texting with Zach last night, he's super excited. Obviously, he didn't play last week, and he's been putting in a ton of time in the film room. I mean, this guy, he spends hours and hours and hours here in this building down in the basement, not seeing his family until late at night. So he's putting in the work. He's excited, ready to go, and he's going to get us ready to roll.
So much of playoff football, and this, I think, is part of the reason why this team has been so successful over the years. And listen, the regular seasons, having the bye, having the West Final at home, obviously a big advantage that isn't there right now. But it does seem like once we get to October and November, the elements, like the things that are playoff football, is kind of the bread and butter of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Yep.
Running the football, defense, like a lot of things that's not just on a quarterback highlight reel is sort of the game plan for you guys. I mean, you guys gonna have that one coming up on Saturday for to get back to basically the bread and butter of this team, which is ground and pound.
Yeah, that's a huge aspect of it. I mean, I'm not going to give away all of our secrets and all of our game plan, but we're excited for that opportunity to go out and do that. I don't think it's a secret to anyone that we like to run the football with this program, and we've done it successfully over the years. But you're right, when the elements get a little different, it might be raining out there. It's going to be colder as the weeks go on. We look as an offensive line and a front to lead, and I think that's going to be big for us as an offensive line to make sure we can get Brady going early and often. He
has been a beast in some. There's probably nothing more rewarding for the guys on the offensive line than seeing Brady slapping his helmet about 20 yards down the field after a big run.
It's awesome. It lets you know he's getting in the zone, he's feeling it, and that's our identity. He's the guy who's leading the charge. He's a physical runner. He runs behind his pads, and he's looking for contact, and that's an exciting part for us because we know that when he's slapping his head and he's rolling and he's taking hits, but he's getting up and bouncing around, we're in a good place. So, we're looking forward to getting into that. We know Montreal is going to try and stifle that, but that's football, and that's the best part about what this is playoffs. It's a grind, and man, it's awesome.
I wanted to ask you, I saw that was it Tui Eli that went and they threw it on that pass play a few games ago around. Any chance we'll see Patty Neufeld line up in an eligible position and potentially get one thrown at you?
I mean, like I said, I'm not going to divulge any state secrets, but weirder things have happened.
No doubt about that. That was just great. That must be fun for the old line guys. Yeah. Like when that is called, like the player, like, oh wow, it's coming.
It is pretty cool. I mean, it's funny. I did a TSN thing a couple weeks ago with Lapo, and he was talking about how he used to line me up at wide receiver, and I actually have a game rep lining up at the Z receiver, running down the field with my hand up. So it can happen.
Pat, one of the things that I think certainly gives me optimism about the ability of the Bombers to, be able to match Montreal and be better than them on Saturday afternoon is the development of the defense. I mean, there was a lot of new players. There were some changes at the corner position like early on in the year, but it really seems like the second half of the season, the defense has been building week by week by week. And listen, there were some tough times for the offense at times. I mean, I think if you look back at the games against Saskatchewan and the Hamilton game afterwards, I mean, these were very close games, and the defense did give the team a chance to win. From your perspective on the other side, what have you seen from the Bomber defense and their growth, and how much confidence does that give the rest of the team that you'll have the opportunity to make things happen when it counts on Saturday?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's the fact that they're all playing consistently on the same page, and once that defense is locked in, man, they're tough to play against. I mean, we got to deal with them every day. We do a lot of good on good, and they do a lot of things really well. So, once they get rolling, they lead the charge, and they lead with physicality. They fly and swarm to the football, and they do a good job of mixing things up. So they make life tough on people, and JY and that coaching staff over there gets those guys going, and they're dynamic, man. They can do a lot of different things. They control a lot of different things, and excited to watch them go out and play.
Now, you guys are actually going early, traveling out on Thursday for the game. What's the next 48 hours like for you and the guys on the offensive line, in addition to practice and before you go wheels up?
Yeah, it's try to stick to routine as much as possible. We're going to spend more time in film, more time together as a unit watching film, and just poring over it sounds like minutia, but it's the detail, and that's where the devil is making sure we're locked in on those little details. And then on a personal note, I think guys will spend as much time with family as possible. Obviously, leaving a night early and getting out there and spending a whole day before out there early, you want to spend time with family. So, lock it down with them and just kind of relax a bit. Like, don't try to do too much. Do what you can and be, get the quality, not the quantity. And I think we're going to accept that challenge, and I think it's going to help ultimately. So, getting out early, we get to get our feet under us a little more, get used to the time change and not have to feel like we're scrambling.
Pat, no CFL team's done more damage in the playoffs than the Winnipeg Blue Bombers over the last 5-6 years. How confident are you that maybe it'll be a different run, but this team is still capable of doing something special? And what could be more special than playing in the big game in front of your home fans in your home stadium?
That's exactly it. We don't talk about it, but I think everyone knows what it's going to be like, and there'd be nothing more special than playing a Grey Cup game here in front of our fans, in front of this incredible city. And we got to take it one game at a time, but I think in the back of our heads that's there, but you got to earn it. And there's two really tough teams in the East, and we're going to have our hands full of Montreal, but it's exciting. Understanding what's at stake is going to motivate us, and it would be special playing here for sure.
I did want to bring up something coming out of the game on Saturday, and listen, this is a rough sport, and terrible things happen to players, and it was heartbreaking to see Chris Streveler, in tears leaving. We saw his post afterwards. I was talking to Ed yesterday, and I get the sense, of a team that's already very, very close, but there's few guys in that locker room as beloved as Streveler. And to lose a player like that, it's a big hit to the team, but I imagine that there would be somewhat of a win this thing for Strev. I mean, he does seem like an inspirational figure, whether he's on the field or just around the guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I said to him after the game. I'm really close to Strev. I love that guy, and more than just a teammate, he's a close personal friend, and that's what I said to him. I said there's going to be some, universal cosmic karma coming in his way, and we're going to go out and do this thing for him, because he's someone who puts his body on the line every game, and he runs out there with his hair on fire, and he plays with his heart on his sleeve, and he's an inspiring dude, and it's heartbreaking. I'm just gutted for him, but we're going to go out there with him in our hearts, and we're going to play for him.
Yeah, I mean, that warrior mentality that he shows every single time he gets in between the white lines. If you had an entire team playing with sort of that much heart, there's not a lot that you probably can't achieve.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And you try to get to that level, and it's tough, man, because he's one of one. So, we're going to miss him, but we're going to go out there and play for him.
Patty, listen, I really appreciate you jumping on today.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck to you and the squad. We'll all be tuned in on Saturday, and hopefully next week spending a lot of time talking about another trip out east to Hamilton, and then bringing it back home for the big one.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All the best. Thanks so much. There's Pat Neufeld of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. What is it, 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, Reem? 2 o'clock Eastern and 1 o'clock Winnipeg time. So we'll lock that in. Of course, BC and Calgary going at it in the West semi. And that is going to be a great tilt. I mean, listen, there's 6 really, really good teams right now. But I would suggest that this has been as wide open and the landscape of the CFL playoffs, Reem, as wide open as we've had in frankly a really long time. I mean, you can make an argument for just about every team as to a path as to how they could be playing in Winnipeg and potentially Grey Cup champs.
100%, Huss. I think both series very close to call. So, or series. I got both games. I got World Series on the mind, on the mind here. Both games very close to call with with Calgary and BC, with Montreal, Winnipeg. I think it could be anyone's game. It's nice to hear Pat say, "Hey, Zach's putting in the work in the film room, and they're going to be prepared to do to the best of their ability." And we've seen the Bombers' offense come out, have great games, certainly win one game. I think they're capable of doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, there's going to be a lot on the defense here as well, but I mean, they've trended in a really positive direction, and I think have basically given them, a chance to win just about every game in the second half of the season. So, listen, if the defense can step up with a big-time performance, Patty and the boys can get Brady going. Zach can come in and, look like the guy that just absolutely shredded Hamilton a few weeks ago. This team will have a good chance to win. They are underdogs right now as we transition over to the Cool Bet lines. The spread right now in this game, 5.5 for the Montreal Alouettes. Bombers plus 5.5. But let's face it, we don't care about the point spread. This is the playoffs. We care about the money line. Bombers to win, plus 205. Montreal minus 256. The BC Calgary game, slightly shorter number, 4.5 points are the BC Lions favorites at home. Minus 217 on the money line. Calgary plus 4.5 and plus 175 on the money line. This is kind of funny. The Bombers, as we talked about a month ago, they were 15-1 to win the Grey Cup. Actually, before that, I think they were 20. But then they were 15. Then it was 13-12. It had sort of been solid at 10-1, which was the longest number of any of the teams that were in the playoffs. And yet we're seeing now at Coolbet, I think more people jumping on the Bombers number. They're now just 8-1, with the Riders still the favorite at plus 260. But no one should be surprised if this team goes out and plays their best in this scenario in the playoffs with their backs against the wall and their season on the line.
I don't think so. I think we've seen them put it together for games at a time, but as you mentioned, that conversation, consistency, been an issue. The one, there's a couple of reasons why you think they could have success. The play of the defense, how they've limited some of the best quarterbacks in the CFL. Trevor Harris in Labor Day Classic and the Banjo Bowl. I don't think he had his best game. Cody Fajardo and the Red Hot Elks, didn't have his best game when they played each other. But it wasn't the defense that let them down in those games. It's been the offense. It's been turnovers. Been absolutely huge. So protecting the football, going to be key. Maybe you need a defensive score, or you need Trey Vavell to have a big play on special teams as well. But there is a recipe for them to go in and win against Montreal. But as we've heard the coach say, it's about execution. It's about mistakes. They're going to have to limit those in Montreal. One game, anything can certainly happen. I think they are capable of winning. They have the playoff pedigree. They have the experience. They've been...
Davis Alexander, due for a loss.
He's going to lose at some point in his...
Why not Saturday?
In his career. Well, why not Saturday? And they played Montreal. They had a important game in Montreal last year where they needed to win the West Division. Now, did they get some crazy gust of wind that aided that win? Yes, but they had to put themselves in position to have that to help them. So they've gone in there, won before.
Oh, I forgot about that. What a legendary moment that was.
Yes.
As I said, much more on the Bombers coming up over on the Blue Bomber channel, The Huddle. I'll be jumping in with Ed Tate coming up right after Winnipeg Sports Talk. We do have lots to get to for tonight in the World Series. And the boys have been doing a great job between the home run insurance and the daily choice of promos. Today, the people have spoken, and it's very simple. We're not talking about a home run prop. We're not talking about hits, total bases. The Jays need to win this damn game tonight and tie this series at 2-2. So the Bluebird Super Boost is very simple in the Coolbet exclusives. Jays to win tonight boosted to plus 225.
This other boost, Ohtani to pitch an immaculate inning. That's like nine pitches, all strikes, and he strikes everyone out. Plus 175.
175 to 1.
Yeah, 175 to win for an immaculate inning. That's a funny one. But yeah, Jays to win is the Super Boost, plus 225.
Yeah, there's a couple other ones. Bieber Fever, Bieber 5 strikeouts, under 2.5 earned runs, and the Jays to win. That's plus 550. The Showtime, Ohtani 7 strikeouts, 2+ total bases, and the Dodgers to win. Here's my favorite one. Captain Kirk, Alejandro to hit a homer and the Jays to win. That one is 12 to 1. Check out the exclusive. There's so much going on. Of course, you got Jays to win at plus 225. The actual number is plus 170. Dodgers minus 200. And again, we said Shohei Ohtani on the bump. In addition to hitting leadoff tonight. Just simply incredible. And I'm fascinated to see how both these teams react to that marathon we had last night, Remis.
I think that's going to be the big story going into the game, especially for the Blue Jays. You haven't seen their starters go deep into games. You know, when they have to take out Bieber, who are they going to go to next? How much gas in the tank will they have? I mean, Eric Lauer pitched, 4 2/3 yesterday. Incredible performance. You know, Chris Bassett only pitched 1. He's traditionally been a starter. Will he be a guy who they rely on? He only had the 8 pitches yesterday.
And he looked good. I mean, I think that when Bieber is done, I think they go to him. I mean, listen, they might put in a Louis Varland, but if you're looking for a guy to get, more than just a guy or two out, to me, Bassett would be the guy. In addition to the World Series, we've got the full slate of games in the NHL. These games are starting at 5 o'clock our time with Pittsburgh and Philly and Calgary and Toronto, and go all the way to 10 p.m. with the Kings playing the San Jose Sharks. But for the Jets tonight, it's the Jets and Wild, 7 o'clock start. This is basically a pick 'em. We've got Winnipeg at minus 110. The Wild at minus 108. Total for the game is 6. If you like the Jets to win by 2, plus 218 on that. Couple of the other noteworthy matchups tonight. We got Washington and Dallas. Dallas is a minus 130 favorite. Probably the game of the night, Remo, or at least one of them. Devils at Avalanche. New Jersey's won 8 in a row. They're plus 135. Avs minus 159. We've also got the Vegas Golden Knights in Carolina. Vegas plus 125. Carolina minus 147. Islanders at the Bruins. Other Central Division teams in action. The Predators are a plus 135 home dog against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the St. Louis Blues, like the Jets, pick 'em. St. Louis minus 108, Detroit minus 110. Full slate of games tonight. We'll have some exclusives and combo cards as well for those. Check it out over at coolbet.com, and make sure to check out at Coolbet Canada. The guys have been doing some great promos all playoffs long, including that home run insurance bet. You didn't need insurance last night. I didn't need it when Alejandro hit that one in game number 1. I'm hoping Kirky can be the guy to get it done. Again, of course, if you haven't played a Coolbet, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit over at Coolbet. Fun show today, Remo, and as I said, the fun's going to continue because I'm looking forward to joining our pal Ed Tate, who's always so kind to come on our show. We're going to jump on over to the Huddle very shortly and get ready for a little bit more playoff action on Saturday with Ed.
Yeah, if you're here on YouTube, it'll automatically take you to the Huddle after this. And looking forward to seeing you in that beautiful studio they have getting ready for this Bomber game against Montreal. Should be fun. And I think they have some big giveaways as well. So you're going to, if you like giveaways, opportunities to win, check out the Blue Bomber channel. The Huddle next with Ed Tate and Hustler.
You're a former winner.
Well, They drew my name randomly. Yes. So
listen, you're a viewer and listener. I mean, they've done a great job. They're giving away jerseys, I think, in most games, and very soon you'll be the proud owner of the Cam Allen 0 jersey.
Very, very fired up. So I'll be sporting that. Grey Cup week.
Yes.
If it's ready, we'll see. We'll see if it's ready.
Well, you know what? It's let's worry about the Bombers being ready for Montreal on Saturday afternoon. I'll be diving into that with Ed Tate coming up right away on the Huddle program. And because of that, we'll wrap right now. Big show tomorrow. Ken's on tomorrow, recapping tonight's tilt in Minneapolis?
Yes, Ken is there asking questions, and he requested to go on tomorrow. So he'll be on tomorrow.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to the latest on the Jets tomorrow. We'll certainly get more on the Bombers as they get ready for the Montreal Alouettes and World Series Game 4. Folks, get those screens going tonight. Jets Wild, World Series Game 4, everything else in the National Hockey League. Man, this October has been incredible for sports, and it's the gift that keeps on giving tonight. Maybe we'll get another classic between the Dodgers and the Jays. Big thanks to Josh Goldberg, Pat Neufeld, Jessi Pierce for jumping on the show with us today. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors that make the show happen. And, of course, to all of you for hanging out with us live on YouTube or checking out the show on the podcast wherever you get your favorite pods. But if you're with us on YouTube, stick around. We're going straight over to the Huddle. Be jumping in with Ed Tate, talking more Blue Bomber football and looking ahead to the playoffs. For Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Enjoy the World Series and the Jets game. We'll break it all down tomorrow, 1 p.m. right here on WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.